Imagine spending each day being unsure of when you'll eat that day, what you will eat that day, or even where you will sleep that night. According to the National Conference of State Legislators, an estimated 4.2 million youth and young adults find themselves in this situation on a daily basis. Roughly 700,000 of the 4.2 million, are unaccompanied minors, and roughly 32 to 40% of the 4.2 million identify as members of the LGBTQ community, which amounts to about 320,000 to 400,000 people. According to youth.gov, being homeless is defined as a person who lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, and if they sleep in a shelter designated for temporary living or inhabit something that is not supposed to be inhabited for humans. This is a plight that affects people from all walks of life, including not only adults, but also the youth of our nation, particularly the youth and young adults that identify as LGBTQ. Today, I will be informing you about some of the events that can cause these youths to become homeless. There is not one steadfast reason that these young adults find themselves to be living without a permanent residence. In fact, many youth and young adults that find themselves homeless find that it is not an instantaneous reaction, and in fact happens in fits and starts. As is stated by Philippe Benoit Cody and Martin Blaise, The Least Loved, That's What I Was, a qualitative analysis of pathways to homelessness by LGBTQ youth in the Journal of Gay and Lesbian Social Services. They may find that they frequently fight with their parents or guardians, and they even may experience neglect at the hands of these parents or guardians. Cody and Blaze also note that the most common cause of youth or adult being homeless is due to families within their issues within their family unit. These youths often face rejection from their closest family members due to their sexuality or their gender identity. Once a child starts to question their gender identity, some families have a hard time dealing with it. Some families may think that the youth is pretending to be part of the LGBT community for attention, and some may even employ the use of psychiatrists or conversion therapies to make their children believe that they are heterosexual or that they are actually their biological sex. As a result, they may find themselves fighting with their parents or guardians more regularly, which leads to a disharmonious home life, which can cause the youth being kicked out of their home or leaving willingly. While the reason that they find themselves homeless is not always their sexuality, it can generally play a large role. Some other reasons include acting out, not listening to their parents, or some kind of alcohol or drug abuse. Another struggle that can cause the LGBT youth to find themselves homeless is they come from a strict religious household. In many religions, it is in no way, shape, or form acceptable to be uh, part of the LGBT community. And so when they come out to their parents or their guardians or grandparents or whoever, they may find that their guardians or parents are telling them they have to change or they're no longer welcome in the home. A third reason is that they find themselves homeless is that bullying and discrimination from their peers. As stated by Deborah Coulthart and Maria Brown in the article The Need for Safe Spaces, exploring the experiences of homeless LGBTQ youth in shelters, children and youth services review, they may drop out of school to avoid the treatment from their fellow peers, and many parents will not allow a child that is not attending school to live in their home. And this mistreatment can cause them to become distrustful of adults. They may find that they won't ask for help, even after they are living on the streets. And another issue that can cause homelessness among the youth and young adults in the LGBT community is that the shelters are not always the safest place. There are not many shelters that are specifically geared to LGBT youth, and so they find that they may be um, experiencing abuse and mistreatment at the shelters, and they may find that they think they're safer on the streets, which is not always the case. In conclusion, there are numerous reasons that LGBTQ youth and young adults will find themselves homeless. These reasons include, but are not limited to, rejection from their family and peers due to sexuality or gender identity, due to both personal or religious reasons, as well as the lack of safety that can be found in shelters. As stated by the American Center for Progress in answer to the federal response to gay and transgender homeless youth, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth who happen to be homeless must face these challenges typical to homeless youth, on top of social stigma, discrimination, and frequently rejection by their families. The failure of critical family and social safety nets and support has for these youth has catastrophic consequences on their economic stability, their educational attainment, economic future, and life expectancy. Youth and young adults in the LGBT community face many challenges, including an increased chance of homelessness.